Sick.
Red.
What's up?
Dude, thanks for being on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
I remember when you first came to 368 when I first met you.
Mm-hmm.
Which was when? When did you first come?
I think it was sometime around May.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I've been like in the process of getting the studio up and running.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's actually
Looks great.
Now it's actually to the point where it's functional.
Mm-hmm.
Got the desks out.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. Did you get this all done at the Chinatown spot?
No, man. I actually got this all done here with me and Colin and Patrick.
Oh, I mean, did you buy this wood
Yeah, from
at Chinatown?
Yeah, always.
Nice.
Everything's from them, man.
Nice.
But yeah, man, I wanted to talk to you about how you got to 368, or basically how you got here in New York City, because you're originally from Cali.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been about a year since I've been here in New York. October 1st was like I pulled into New York State after a 16-day road trip. But to give that context,
Wait, by yourself?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was awesome, but it was also terrible. Don't drive by yourself. Have like a person with you.
At least that's
yeah,
wild.
Switching off driving is so key. But to give that context, I was working at this company called Everlane for about 5 years. And during my time there...
what were you doing at Everlane? Sorry.
I was about to answer
that.
So I was employee number 13, I think. And so very early on. And for those that don't know, Everlane is a direct-to-consumer company that makes... very beautiful luxury basics, and anything from your basic white t-shirt all the way to, like a very nice cashmere sweater, leather bags, women's shoes that are made in Italy, soon men's shoes, a sneaker is coming from what I've heard. And during my time there, I was customer experience associate, so helping people with their orders, just that frontline staff. And then by the time I left, I was, running all of their social. So after about 5 years, I decided I really want to live in New York. We had done so many events here, so many parties, so many pop-ups, activations, all sorts of things. And every time I came to New York, I was like, I don't want to leave. So ultimately, it came down to a decision. And I was like, well, I think I need to spend at least the last of my 20s in New York. So, and that's how I got here.
How old are you, Red?
I'm 29 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting was everybody that stopped by at 368,
Mm-hmm.
and when they get introduced to you, like, oh, this is Red. He used to run the social for Everlane. Everybody knows Everlane, and they seem to be all familiar with your work. Even like Sam Shepard, they're like, oh yeah, I know Red. I follow Red on Instagram when you first stopped by. I was like, damn, everybody seems to be knowing this guy Red.
Yeah, it has been a little uncanny how it's happened. Like, I remember there was a meeting that I wasn't even a part of, but this guy, Florian, he works at Google, and he was stopping by to talk about, I don't know, something. I wasn't part of the meeting. But I saw his face, and I walked in, and I was like, I know this guy from somewhere.
At 368.
At 368.
Yeah.
And then after the meeting was over, he comes up to me. He's like, yo, Red, it's Flo. Like, and I was like, oh, yeah, we were supposed to meet up in San Francisco and take photos, because he had sent me a message about how he was getting more into photography, and he liked my work at Everlane, and we had this mutual friend. And I was like, wow, what a small world. And that's one example, but that happened a couple more times with some other people because we have a lot of people coming through the space that we want to work with and things like that. And I remember the weirdest one was as we were all locking up. It was like a late night in the office.
Yes.
And I just walked out the door, and then this woman goes, Red.
She was walking her dog.
Yeah, she was like walking. You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. And she just goes, Red. And she was like, oh, are you Red? And
And I was like, yeah. And then everyone's like, oh God, this doesn't happen all the time. So it's become almost like a joke.
yeah, man.
But I guess that, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm a very well-known person or anything like that. So for it to just happen coincidentally so many times, I don't know. I still think it's coincidence, but it is kind of comical in the way that it's happened so often, I guess.
I think what it is too is I think a lot of people appreciate and admire your work, man. You know what I mean? Like whether it's the work in Everlane or even just on your Instagram alone. I think a lot of people admire your creative eye and the photos and videos that you create. Because I mean, you have a pretty decent following on Instagram. And
Yeah. I mean, my brother has 10 times the following I do. I'm at like, what, 9,000? He's at like 90. So.
Oh, that's another thing. And I found it interesting when I asked you, like, oh, so is Red your real name?
Uh-huh.
You and your brothers all have similar names.
Yes. So my younger brother, who looks like he's my older brother, everyone always asks this when we go
He does.
live. His name is Green, and then I have another brother named Blue, and then
RGB.
Yes, RGB, and then the eldest sibling is my sister, and her name is Tanya, but we call her Tan.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's you and your brother have a whole series on YouTube
Yes.
that you guys have been doing. You're on week
13 or 14 now. So this began back in summer because like I've tried to make YouTube work. Like I think the earliest one was like I think I was in college vlogging about my accounting internship, and that lasted like 3 days.
is accounting what you originally went to school for?
Yeah, I know. Why?
No, see, so this is great, man. Like,
Yes.
So you originally went to school for accounting and then ended up in the creative field.
Yeah, I think I was just lying to myself. I was like, oh, yes. I just looked up salaries of people, and I was like, oh, yeah, CPAs, you make this much money. It's blah, blah, blah. Like, it's safe. I'll do that. Then I realized I just hate myself so much when I do this, so I can't.
I feel like a lot of people lie to themselves when it comes to that.
Yes and no. I know people
course.
who are like great at it. It's super them. Like I don't want to say accounting itself is bad. It's just it wasn't for me. I wasn't listening to myself.
So how did you end up from taking accounting as like your major to ending up in Everlane running their whole social?
I mean, I had always been interested in photography or creative kind of outlets. Mostly like digital, because like I never thought of myself as a traditional artist that could draw or do anything like that. But I always had good ideas. I think I still have this. From first grade, I have this thing like saved in a piece of plastic that my teacher wrote. It was like, Red has great ideas. And that's the only thing that's on there, which I'm like, okay, cool. It's like one of those like fake awards that they make up in class. But I had always done that, and I had a couple of internships in college that let me be sort of creative.
Yeah.
I ran a Twitter account for a food truck, which if you've ever seen the movie Chef, that's kind of like what I was kind of like the kid in that movie where his dad like leaves fine dining and gets a food truck and travels across the country. And the kid's like all on social media tweeting and like posting photos and stuff. Dad doesn't understand what's happening until like tons of people start showing up.
Yep.
And I was basically that kid, except I was like 21 years old, not like 12. And then I had another internship with a router company called D-Link, and they make they make routers and webcams and all sorts of. I ran the Facebook page. I did Facebook contests so that stay-at-home moms could win webcams and other fun things like that.
So you've been running social accounts for a while.
I mean, not really. That was just like I was in charge of the Facebook page, and I would like start a raffle, and I would pick someone who would win it, and it was not the most creative job, to be honest. But it's like I went to a cubicle and I understood how that world worked, and I was like, this is not for me. And I ended up at. Let me know if this answer's too long too, because I can get very
good.
detailed.
No, please do. And we have time, Red. We have time.
Do we though?
Yeah, we're making time out
money.
here, man.
Okay.
We're making time.
I like that. So then I moved to San Francisco, and I was working at this place called the Culinary Edge, and they do everything. It's basically like an agency for food businesses. So if you have a restaurant, or if you're, in consumer packaged goods, like you sell in the grocery store or something like that, they help you. Jamba Juice, their breakfast menu, was made by this lab in San Francisco. And I was working there as a consumer research intern.
How old are you at this point?
I think I was like 22 at this point. Yeah. So I'm 22 years old. And I'm working at this place. It's an internship, and thank God my sister is older and runs HR at Toyota at this point, because she helped me negotiate like minimum wage plus my transportation being paid for. So I negotiate that from 9, and I'm working there 9 to 4. And then I have a second job because San Francisco is expensive.
Out here hustling.
I have a second job, and I'm working at Uniqlo a couple days a week from basically like 6 to midnight, or graveyard shift, whatever it needs to get done, right? So I'm doing that, and I pretty much burned myself out by December, and I'm like, okay, I got to quit one of these. So I quit Uniqlo because it's affecting my performance at my internship. And at some point in January, I think one of my coworkers at the Culinary Edge, she's sitting in a cafe, and someone asks her if she could give feedback on this website. And the website is Everlane. And she's like, oh, this is a cool website. You should come to our office and show it to the rest of the people here. So I see it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen this on Tumblr, because I used to like follow like the hashtag menswear Tumblr.
Gotcha.
Seeing all these like funny bloggers and stuff. It's crazy because they all work at like Complex and Vice and GQ now. But yeah, I'd seen the website, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I gave them some feedback on thoughts I had, and then at the end of their presentation, they asked to take photos of the office. And I was like, oh yeah, go ahead, take as many photos as you want. And they mentioned that they're shopping for a new space and all this and that. And my internship is ending at this point, and I know in my head that like, okay, my contract is up. I don't have anything else lined up. They just said they're shopping for a new office space. That must mean they're hiring. So I asked them straight up, I'm like, are you guys hiring? Because what are next steps here? Can I email you? Like, how do we do this? And I was so naive then. I was like, whatever they taught us in school, that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm going to write like a nice thank you note and do this and blah, 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 blah. But, we exchanged emails, and then I eventually have like a couple phone interviews. And the first phone interview I have is with their head of engineering, and his name is Nan. He's a good friend now.
Shout out to Nan.
Yes. And Nan is very direct, and it was so hard for me to read him, especially on the phone. So I just thought it went terribly. And as a follow-up, I was like, okay, what's a creative way for me to get into the door here? Like, I don't know. I don't want to just send like a nice email. I feel like that's lame. Like, everyone just sends an email. Like, how do I really stand out from the pack? Because also in my head, this company is huge. Like, I had no idea. Like, you look at the website, you're like, wow, this is a beautiful website. You look at the products, you're like, damn, this must be like a 50-person company. It was like 10 people working in an office at this point. Probably not much bigger than this. There was probably like a conference room attached to it, but I didn't know that. So,
and just for everybody listening, this space that we're in right now is like just under 200 square feet.
Yeah. So there's probably another like 80 or 100 square feet for a conference room that was attached to it. But anyways, I didn't know that. I just thought it was a big company because of the website. And the phone call ends at like 4 p.m. I like walk home. I didn't have to work at Uniqlo that night, thank God. And then I have this idea. I'm like, okay, I'm going to replace instead of a thank you note or an email or like bringing something to the office, because that's creepy, I'll send like I'll redesign their website. So like I changed the way, I mean, it's on my blog, so I don't know if we can.
What's your blog? Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, it's rnwn.wordpress.com. And then, scroll down.
RNWN.
Oh, you guys are going to find out something new too. So keep scrolling.
What does RNWN stand for?
Right now. Okay, so how I follow up an interview is the one. So yeah, that's what I did.
Hey, is that
right
you?
There. Yeah, that's me.
That's 22-year-old Red, 21-year-old Red?
Young Rojo. And I basically redesigned the website to have my information on it. I took the model photos almost exactly the same, and I just wrote like my thank you email in that bottom like product description, and then I changed add to cart to add to team, and when you click that button it sent me an email. But it turns out like they didn't realize that add to team sent an email, like because I sent it as a PDF. I didn't know how to make a website, so I just sent it as a PDF with that little bit of code attached in there, and they thought it was cool. Yeah,
that's cool.
It's funny because I was like, I freaking worked all night on this thing, and now I could probably make that thing in like 5 minutes. But I was just trying to figure it out as I go, like in Photoshop and all that. The lighting in my friend's apartment was super yellow and terrible. So I actually had like my friend using a second camera with flash on it to fill as I had this other camera shooting. And it was just like, I don't know, we were just trying to make it up as we go and improvise, and it turned out okay enough. And I was like, I have to send this by 8 a.m. so that like blah 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 blah. And
so it's like the first email.
Yes,
it's
first
like the top
email,
of the inbox.
Well, and none of that mattered. But they did follow up at 4. I remember getting a response from Non at like 4 p.m. that day saying, "Hey, can you come in?" And it was still another couple weeks of conversations and emails, but eventually I got the job. And then I was, a customer experience associate making $12 an hour.
When you say customer experience associate, so what were you like day to day? What were you doing?
Oh, I was answering people's emails who had ordered. So I had done all this work, but I was making a bet on my future self because, I thought it was a really cool company. And, I was very naive at this point. Again, I will say this. I was like, oh, it's a startup. And I was like, I'm going to get in early. They're going to IPO and blah, 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 this and that. And I'll make tons of money, blah. But once I had started working there and I understood the mission more and working with these people, I was like, yeah, that was dumb. Like, that's rare. And what ended up happening was I think I understood myself more. I understood how to do good work and made a lot of good friends. So, yeah.
So you went from customer experience associate to eventually running their social accounts. Like completely running it.
Yeah, and it happened more abruptly than we make it sound in this conversation. What the details of what happened is there's this woman, Eva, and she is a gem. She was running social at the time, and she was based in the LA office. Everlane used to have an LA office, okay. And she had flown up to meet me. She really liked the application that I had made.
Dude, that's a great idea. Just like your teacher said, Red comes up with great ideas.
Yeah.
What?
So she had seen that and she was like, oh, that was really awesome. And she needed some help answering customer, because on social, customers complain about products or they ask questions,
Yeah.
and she just needs some support. So I was like, yeah, I'm happy to help. And then my responses on Twitter and Facebook, she was like, hey, you're really fast and you're doing pretty good. Do you want to do more stuff? And she just gave me more small projects to do, and those led to bigger projects. And I think she went on vacation at one point for about a week, and she said, everything's set up. All you have to do is push a button and you're good. Just don't break anything. And I was like, okay. And I didn't break anything.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 23 at this point because I'm 23 at this point.
So you've been at Everlane for like a year, 2 years now?
No, it was like 5 months.
5 months, got it.
My birthday's in June, so.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so I'm there 5 months, and then she went on vacation in July or August, something around there. And at some point, she's like, all right, I'm leaving the company. I'm going to go do something else in LA now. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And she basically points at me and is like, yeah, Red can do this. And our CEO is like, who's Red? Well, he didn't say that. That's an exaggeration. But that's what kind of probably what it felt like. Because it's like, dude, what are your qualifications? Do you even, like, how do you know about marketing? Like, yep. I mean, that's a big bet to make on someone that young and inexperienced. So it was a lot of pressure. And I was like, I'm not sure I can do this. And she's like, you got this. She coached me through like a couple different Skype phone calls, and she answered all my text messages and all this stuff. But, you know, it was one of those transitions where you're making it up as you go. And looking back, I think I'm glad I didn't quit, because it started in September, which was also the first time I flew to New York as an adult. And like, I was like, I'm not leaving. But through September all the way through December, I was working very closely with Michael, and I like learned so much. Michael's the CEO and founder.
Got it. Of Everlane.
Yeah. And I learned so much in such a short amount of time. And I actually almost quit after the holiday. I remember being like, okay, I'm going to stick it through the holidays. And then I'm just not cut out for this. I think I need to do something else. But after the holidays, he was pretty much like, I trust you.
So you were doubting yourself.
Oh yeah, I doubt myself all the time, constantly.
I think that's something everybody needs to always hear too, is like, people constantly doubt themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think that other people are just overly confident and that they have everything figured out. That's something I always say, is like, when you're even a kid, you think that like adults have it all figured out and know what the fuck they're doing. Nope. But then when you become an adult and you start working with people and you start working in companies, you realize that for the most part, people are kind of winging it.
Yeah. I mean, you get more skills and experience over time, so that you can hopefully not make the same mistakes.
Yes.
But I mean, it's not, the world is not a computer where you just put in like a command line and then, it does the thing. People are unpredictable, and
yeah, man.
There's just so many variables that it's hard to always calculate what's going to happen. So you just have to be flexible enough to adjust and adapt.
And so you were doubting yourself, but then at this point, past the holidays, Michael, the CEO, basically said that he trusted you, and that like
there was a lot more trust and freedom, and what was that? Oh,
thanks for the donation. Who was that?
Shout out. Do we got to shout him out right now?
It didn't come up. No worries.
Okay.
Shout out to whoever donated that. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Seriously, you could also Venmo me. No, I'm just kidding.
So Michael started really trusting you, and I think that's a big thing, is when people just trust your judgment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always struggled with that. I always feel like my insecurities are big, and sometimes I don't even trust myself, and people around me can feel that, and then they don't trust me.
Mm-hmm.
And then that affects my work and my creativity. But I remember working for Casey, and then there's just so many times where he'll tell me to do something,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll kind of question it, and then he'll immediately respond with, "I trust your judgment," and then he's like, "And just execute." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's great. It's empowering, man. It's
Oh
empowering."
yeah. And that stuff just takes time. Like, you know, we're all humans. We're not just, again, we're not computers. Our software needs time. And like, I just put myself in his shoes. He founded this company. He's been building it since day one. How is he going to just let some 23-year-old kid, you know, and he's not that much older than me, but still, like, just let someone take over, you know, one of the biggest channels of communication for our customers. Like, number one is the, you know, website and email, and then closely following that was social. Like, Everlane had a really big cult following at the time.
Yeah, man, social's huge.
So it's just like, oh, I'm gonna give it to this guy. Like, how do I know I can trust him? Okay, put him through the ringer.
Yep. Spend time with you.
Spend time with me.
Yep.
And it wasn't always pretty. Like, I made so many mistakes. I remember we had this event that kind of ended our summer series campaign called Where I Travel, where we...
What year? Summer
This is that first year before I took over social. So we had been running this campaign in the summer that Eva had started called Where I Travel, and it was going to end with a gallery event in New York City.
Just so everybody can follow. Summer of what year?
2013.
Okay. So summer 2013, roughly.
Yeah, that's when I got hired. Yeah, okay, cool. Wow. It's weird to think that that's so long ago.
Yeah, man. It's wild.
But yeah, it's the same summer. It's my first year. I'm customer experience associate, and then the summer ends, and we have this gallery event in New York City, and you know, I'm working with a photographer to take photos, and then I'm trying to get him to send me some like selects just quickly so that I could post something on social. And then it's like a nighttime event, and like I'm not happy with what I'm getting. And then like we don't really post anything because I'm waiting for the photographer to send me photos because he didn't want to send me them like during the event, which I was like, I guess, you know, people work in different ways, right? So he's like editing them while he's on the train home to Boston, and I don't get them till the next day. And I remember we had like another shoot or something the next day, and like Michael's so mad, and he like tells me, he's like, you know, I think it's really weird that we had an event about social media, about Instagram, and we didn't post anything on Instagram.
That's
and
valid.
I was like, yeah, dude, you're right. I fucked up. But at the time, I was just like, oh, damn it. Oh, my. You know, the world's ending.
Of course.
Oh, my God, I'm going to get fired. I didn't get fired. Thank God.
The photographer's not working with you. He's like, oh.
I mean, no, the photographer's cool. He's a great dude, and he's super talented. It's just like...
He wasn't giving you the photos, though, right?
I mean, he was. It's just like you can't rush people sometimes. And, like, I didn't communicate that ahead of time, that I was going to be like, hey, I'm going to need some stuff on the fly. Like, it was just like... it was just an experience for me.
Dude, Red, that's something I've been learning a lot from you is... I think one of my weak points when it comes to work is communication. Because when I was working with Casey, it was just all mainly just I'm just working autonomously. Casey just says do this, do that, and then like I just go. Yeah. And then that's something that I've been learning from you is, dude, communication is so fucking important.
Yeah, man. It's how our ancestors figured out, like, you know, drawing on the walls to communicate with each other, telling each other stories to entertain themselves. I mean, like, it's kind of the only way, like, we've evolved as a species, like being able to communicate ideas and shit. So.
Yep. Because like the way I think about it too is like if your heart or something in your body stops communicating with something, that's when shit goes wrong. You know what I mean? Like if communications fail, that's where things go wrong. Yeah. So anyway, so now you're in good with Michael. Mm-hmm. And then so he basically hands over the reins for the social.
Yeah, I think
All to you.
it became like very official by like November, December-ish, because I had been reporting to two different bosses at this point, one in operations, Michael, and he's the CEO plus CMO at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it was like, okay, we gotta like kind of decide where to put you now, and I'm like, okay, I think I wanted to finish and continue to do the marketing thing.
Dude, and then so you came in. This all started from just somebody asking you to just give your 2 cents on their website.
Yeah, we called them web-alongs, and I think it's a common practice that a lot of startups do. It's like because I mean, big companies, they'll pay for a focus group and blah blah. Like you'll go into this test center where you've screened like these people that'll give feedback. But I mean, like the scrappy way to do it is just bring your laptop with you, go to a cafe, and then like ask people that look like they might be your potential customers.
Interesting.
Or ask people who don't look like your potential customers and be like, "What do you think of this website?" And then you get feedback immediately, and you're not just looking for the feedback they say. You get to observe their body language, the way they speak, the way the faces that they make while they're scrolling or reading through the website, and that information is valuable. Like you can garner a lot of insights through that.
So how long total were you working at Everlane?
So, almost like 4.5 years.
4.5 years, and then you decide to take a road trip across America by yourself to move to New York City.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to do a road trip at first, but I knew I was going to move to New York. I didn't know where I wanted to live yet, but I also thought, hey, when's another time in my life where will I be freelance, or will I get a job when I'm going to have this chunk of time where it's just completely my own. And I had only been to 5 different states at this point, so I was like, I think I have some exploring that I need to do. So I was like, okay, I'll do a road trip. How much is this going to cost? This is going to eat into savings, because like a flight, you get there, $300, you move your shit. Like that's very transactional, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I want to make this an adventure. So I planned this thing, and I turned it into a campaign called Red's Epic Drive, which is RED. And
RED.
Yeah, and I made like a little PowerPoint slideshow that told people why they should invest in me driving across the country. And I pitched it to a couple of brands. No one bid except Airbnb, and they gave me $5,000 to use in Airbnb credits across the country. So I would just find cool places to stay, take photos for social, and then do some stories. And
so you just came up with this idea to pitch this to brands and Airbnb.
Well, at first it was to pitch to my friends.
Oh, kind of just like a crowdfunding thing.
And then I was like, oh, maybe I should pitch this to brands. And then I made like a 90-second video to pitch people, elevator pitch. And it worked. Like people sent me money. Some friends sent me a lot of money, which I was like, dude, what?
How much money did you end up raising?
Including the Airbnb stuff,
not including the Airbnb stuff. So Airbnb's $5,000.
Airbnb is $5,000.
That's sick.
And then the other stuff, I think it was around like $3,000.
$3,000 that you were able to raise for your Red's Epic.
Yeah, my goal was 5,000.
What was it? Red's Epic
Drive. RED.
Red's Epic Drive.
So I end up raising like $3,000, and then someone that worked at a car magazine was like, "Oh, hey, I think we could work with you on this, but only from like Chicago to New York." And I was like, "Well, how am I gonna get from San Francisco
to Chicago?"
And then I was like, "Well, I could rent the car," but then I was like, "Oh, then I have to switch cars, and then all my stuff is in this van." So I was like, I'm just going to stick with Hertz because I already got the van and it's going to fit all my stuff. And then also, someone paid me to move like this giant lightning bolt thing that they had bought in Germany from San Francisco to New York. So I was like, okay,
How much did they pay you for that?
like $500.
Dude, you're just out there killing it, Red. What? So
Yeah.
you were able to raise $3,000 on your own from like crowdfunding.
Yeah.
5,000 from Airbnb in Airbnb credit, so you could stay in Airbnbs wherever you go.
Yeah.
And you got paid an additional $500 to move
A giant lightning bolt. Yeah.
Sculpture.
Yeah.
From where? From San Francisco to New York?
Yeah.
So did they pay for like your transportation and everything?
No, they just paid me $500.
Oh, and they were just like, just get this over there.
Yeah.
Damn, Red. So you had basically $8,500 out of nowhere. You raised that to fund your move from San Francisco to New York City.
Yeah.
Damn, man. See, do you guys hear that? Like when people always say like, "Oh, money's such an issue," like you're out there just making it happen. Like you're out there like using the tools and the things you have at your disposal and like maximizing you're maximizing like your efforts and like how much you can really earn.
I mean, it comes with like the more you make, the more options you have, right? Like when I was making $12 an hour, like there's no way I would have thought of this because I'm just like, fuck, how much money is going to rent and how much is going to food. Like those are the things I think about when I was making like $10 to $12 an hour. I don't have time to think about these fun ideas. But at this point, I'm like, I'm 5 years into my career and, I'm making enough that, I was making like $86,000 a year plus benefits at this point.
At Everlane.
Yeah, at Everlane. And I say the money thing out loud, not to brag, but just to be, because I don't care. And I think it's weird that people have such a problem talking about salary.
I agree with you.
Like people get into debt and all this other stuff because they're not comfortable sharing their financial situation and asking for help. And I, on the other hand, am completely open, and I don't want to over glamorize me hustling and like making like, like whatever the minimum wage in San Francisco was at the time, or like brag about how much money I make. These are just facts and numbers and resources. And if someone can help me use my resources better, then great. What am I trying to articulate? It's just like, I want to learn as much as possible because like my family hasn't managed their finances the best. So I'm just trying not to repeat certain mistakes. And so, yeah, at this point, it's like, since I have that certain level of economic status, I can comfortably make decisions, and I have things that I have freedom to think about these things that could be fun and maybe make money. And so I had the time to do that and the luxury to do that. And I think I was very lucky that I was able to have that experience.
Lucky and not, I feel like definitely there's some luck there, but I think you took the initiative and you weren't making excuses, and you were doing what you wanted to do. And I think you were doing it in like a smart, calculated way. And you were just like, why not try this? And what's there to lose? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What are you going to lose?
Probably, nothing. It's just either the trip was going to be expensive or the trip was going to be cheap.
And then, that's wild that you were able to do that, Red. That's super impressive, man.
But it's a culmination of things, right? Like I had been running social for Everlane, and people liked the photos and things that I had done there. So that allowed people to trust me. Someone knocking?
No, they're just probably moving stuff upstairs. Got it.
New York City, man.
Yeah, man. And then so your road trip took how long? 16 days?
Yeah.
By yourself?
Yeah. My last day at work was September 15th. September 16th, I woke up and I already finished packing because I'd moved out the week before.
Oh, wait. Sorry, real quick. So when you first started Everlane, how much were you getting paid? I just want to know.
Like $12 an hour.
And then you, at the end of it, you ended up having a salary of 86,000 plus benefits.
Yeah, and like and equity and stuff like that.
And that was for in a span of like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Dude, that's what's up, Red. That's so dope.
Yeah, I guess like looking at it, that's pretty good.
That is, man. What? And then like you went to school for accounting, and then you kind of just carved out a whole different career for yourself.
Yeah, but that's not uncommon, right? Lots of people do that.
And lots of people also end up not doing that and end up failing and end up, there's a whole bunch of shit that goes on. But just hearing what you went through is just so, to me, it's really impressive. And like even just getting to work with you, I'm like, oh, this guy's different. Like I could see it. You know what I mean? Like,
thanks.
No, man. And just being real.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, back to your 16-day road trip.
Oh yeah.
By yourself, dude. That's crazy that you did that by yourself.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I always underestimate how much work something is.
Everybody
and then I
does.
get into it and I'm like, oh God, what did I sign up for here? Jeez.
Dude, that was us yesterday with the fucking overhead shooting range.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be, I mean, like, you look on a map, right? Like, you look on your phone and you're like, oh, yeah, America's this big. This is how big America is. It is not just this big. When you, like, expand that scale of real life, the route I planned was not straight. Most people will, go about 3,000 miles across, and take the shortest path. I had several national parks and landmarks that I wanted to see. So mine went from San Francisco to Sacramento to see my dad, and then I went down to Yosemite, and then I went all the way up. Oh no, and then I went down to like Utah to Bryce Canyon, Zion, which I actually didn't get to see Zion because I ran out of time. But then I drove all the way up to Montana to Glacier National Park.
I hear Montana's beautiful.
It's great. But that drive is a lot longer than I thought. So I actually ended up stopping in Salt Lake City because I was like, I'm fucking tired. Driving, like, even with cruise control, you got to pay attention. You got to be alert. And I don't want to like fall asleep and crash. So I just took breaks whenever I needed to. But driving in a van that's full of your crap and you're just like,
and a lightning bolt.
Yeah, it's not the most fun thing to drive, but I mean, I got a lot of cool drone shots, so I guess it's fine. And then, yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
No. It was just talking about your 16-day road trip.
Yeah, so it was a lot to pack into 16 days. I wish I stayed longer in some places, but reconnected with some friends after that first leg, which was mostly myself, nature, and national parks. So,
So then you went to So what was your route?
Okay, so it was San Francisco, Sacramento, then Yosemite, Utah, and then Zion and Bryce Canyon, then Salt Lake City, stopped in Yellowstone for a couple hours, then Glacier National Park in Montana. Then from Glacier, I had to go through South Dakota, and I stopped in, I don't even remember the place, but it was just like for 4 hours to sleep. And then got to Minneapolis, which was really cool.
Okay.
That place I wish I spent more time there.
Did you ever go? Sorry, what were you gonna
say? I didn't get to go to the Walker Art Center, which I really wanted to do, but that's fine. I mean, the city's still there, so I guess I could visit anytime. And then Chicago.
Did you end up doing that deal with that company in Chicago or no?
No.
Okay.
No. So I got to Chicago, hung out with my homie Richard, and then from Chicago went to Detroit. That was fun. Spent from Detroit, I went to Toronto and had a lot of fun in Toronto. Reconnected with my homie Ollie, and then it was Toronto to New York.
What did your family think when you said that you're just gonna pick up and just move all your stuff to New York City?
I mean, they kind of, I don't want to say they're whatever, but they're just like supportive. They think that like I know what I'm mostly doing, and they're cool with it. My sister, she'll have more questions usually, like, oh, how are you gonna pay for this? Blah blah blah. This. You know, a lot of logistical stuff. But I've been able to, you know, uphold my obligations. Credit's still good, so I think I'm doing fine.
And then when you moved to New York, did you have friends here? Did you have an apartment already laid out ready for you?
No, so I had no. I didn't know where I wanted to live, but I asked my aunt, because I have an aunt here, and I have cousins who are like the same age as me and my brother.
Yeah.
So their house is still here, and they had moved out, obviously, because they're the same age as me and Green. Well, I mean, not obviously. Some people don't move out, but they had moved out, and so there are some empty rooms in this house. And my other cousin had lived in this house for some time before she found an apartment. So I was like, okay, great, I'm gonna do that. I'll stay for 2 weeks, and once I find my spot, I'll move there. And they were like, why are you in a rush? Just stay through the winter or whatever. Take your time. Really find the place you want. And I was like, are they just saying that to be nice, or should I don't know. Then my cousin told me she had moved like 3 times after moving out because she was like, she rushed it. And I was like, oh, maybe they just don't want me to make the same mistake. So I stuck around for about 3 months, and I had some friends because of work, because I had visited, New York probably for like 2 months out of the year every year since starting to work for Everlane.
And everybody knows you.
No, there's a lot of people that don't know me. But yeah, so I had like a network of friends, and then 2 of my friends who I've hung out with the most. They're probably some of my best friends. They are my best friends here in New York. It's Kunal and Yumi. Been hanging out with them a lot. We actually did. It's funny because I still had some Airbnb credit left that was expiring. And once I had gotten to New York, we went on a road trip to Montreal, like almost a couple of weeks after I had been in New York. And that was fun. So
how much credit did you have left over?
I think I had like I don't know, like $500 or $600 left. Okay. Yeah. So it was enough for like a nice weekend.
Damn, I forgot that you stayed in all Airbnbs real quick. So you probably stayed in like dope spots too. Just like cool little.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's sick.
Yeah. I mean, one of the photos I used, I took the photo with my drone. It was like a tree house in Montana, and that's
on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, it was snowing. And it was raining when I got there. It was the middle of the night, and they left a flashlight out on a stick.
Yeah.
Are you pulling up the Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep scrolling. Yeah, it's that treehouse looking thing.
Look at that treehouse.
Yeah, it was raining, and like I had been reading the reviews, and they were talking about how someone saw black bears, and I was like, I'm gonna die, because I had pulled up and they had a sign that pointed to the treehouse with a flashlight on it, and the flashlight was not bright, so I just used my phone, and I'm walking through this pathway, and I'm like, where the hell is this place? Oh my god, I'm completely alone, no one's here, I'm going to die.
That's terrifying.
And then I find the staircase, I run up, open the door, shut it, and I'm like, and I look around and I'm like, oh wow, this place is really nice.
I feel like running up the stairs, like it just adds like scariness to it.
You know what I mean? Of course, yeah, it was unnecessary, but that's how I felt. And I woke up the next morning and it was snowing, and I was like, it's September. What is happening? And it was just beautiful. I was like, damn, this is sick. So
that's a crazy experience.
Yeah. And then I flew the drone, crashed it, and then replaced the propellers, and then flew it out again. And then I took that photo, and it was one of Airbnb's most engaging photos of that year.
fucking awesome right there, dude.
Yeah, so I got an email. They were like, "Hey, we'd love to include this photo in a press roundup for blah blah blah. We may or may not use it, but we want to let you know, and like, can you sign this form?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll sign the form." Then the article came out, and they didn't use the photo, and I was like, "Damn. Oh well. At least I have that email that validated me."
So then now you're in New York City.
Uh-huh.
How did you end up at 368?
So, I have so I'm in New York City and it's December and I'm making a video about like, I'm trying to figure out how to get more freelance clients and like tell my story. So I'm like, oh, January 1st, that's the beginning of the year. This is a good time to drop a video. So I kind of wrap up my last couple months, and I had recorded not a vlog, but like I just recorded footage on the day that I was gonna tell Michael I'm quitting. So I had been sitting on it and I was like, do I use this? I don't know. Maybe there's something that it could be good for. So it's December and I'm like, what do I make? What's like a good, and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use some of this footage and I'm going to talk about like what I had done in my career up to that point and what I want to be doing for this next year.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like a 2-3 minute video that I put together. Didn't sleep for like 2 or 3 days because I was just trying to perfect it, and I sent it to like all my friends and got their feedback and made changes. Dinesh, one of my best friends in San Francisco, he helped me so much. He's actually the voiceover in the beginning of that video. And and I'm giving backstory because it leads into this other stuff.
Please do, man.
And I released the video and a lot of my friends support it. Some strangers see it. Lots of people start tweeting me and things start coming in. I'm like, oh, this is great. Was that me? Whoops.
I'm not sure.
Yep, that's me. And I put it out, and then my friend Baldwin, he hits me up and he's like, dude, that was great. We should link up now that you're in New York City. I was like, cool. So we link up and we're talking about video stuff, and he and I share the mutual friend. He has a friend, and he's like, you should meet this guy, Paul. I was like, okay, cool. And then that meeting never materializes. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm going to just keep doing my own thing. I have a bunch of other freelance stuff that I do. And then eventually the conversation circles up again. And then I get invited to come over to 368. And then it's just a couple meetings where I learned more about like what's happening. And then I learned more about like what needs to get done. And I'm like, hey, I did this thing. Is this helpful? And they're like, oh yeah, this is great. And then basically I just started working, and they haven't kicked me out of the building yet. So
yeah, I remember when I first met you, you were helping us design like the storefront.
Yeah.
I remember you would just come in and I would just be like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
And then like we met and I was like, oh shit, you're Filipino. I'm Filipino. So immediately I was just like, oh shit, hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so there's a Elaine from DroneWorks.
Yeah.
She's also there sometimes. And then,
yeah.
And I found out she's also part Filipino. And I was like,
yeah.
damn, hell yeah.
Yeah, actually during lunch yesterday, I found out that we're both from Sunnyvale. Which is in the Bay Area.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if I could say I'm from there, but I went to elementary school there and middle school. So she mentioned Sunnyvale, and I was like, wait, that's where I lived. What a small world.
No, man. I remember first seeing you and you were just helping us design the storefront. I immediately was just like, oh man, dude, this guy seems like he just knows, like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is confidence from doing things before, but yeah, other 10% of it is faking it. But yeah,
No,
you gotta fake confidence.
no, man,
You
that's
gotta be
real.
sure of yourself.
Exactly, man. I remember you were even telling me, like, there was times where you were unsure about your work and your and like your content that you make, and then now you're pretty confident about that. And hearing you say that, I was just like, damn, man, like that's how I feel at times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not confident in my work. I think my videos need a lot. I see every week as like a consistent failure, but at least I'm failing constantly and getting better.
Yep.
Uh,
That's huge.
But I'm not happy with where my video work is at. I think it's getting better, but you know, that takes time, and I don't have any problem doing it publicly.
No, and I think that's great that what you and your brother are doing with your whole Red versus Green series. That's
which I still have to edit my video today.
So like, let people know what that whole concept is you guys come up with a video every week, and I think that's great to just make yourself better at making videos.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest thing is like, yes, we could make videos ourselves, but I think having a partner gives us accountability.
Yeah.
And at first when we would make these videos, they were the same exact theme, and then we would, you know, we wouldn't talk the whole week, and then we would post, and then we'd talk about it. But now it's much more collaborative because I think the consistency is there. That's what we did before. And now it's more like, hey, we have more phone calls or FaceTimes, and we're like, hey, what are you working on this week? Oh, okay, cool. That's good. And we're actually helping each other make each other's videos.
Yeah.
And it still has it still can be competitive where we ask people like, hey, who did better? But we don't have to work in silos. And I think that's been helpful because now we're like a support system for each other. We can give each other feedback or notes, and like, you know, we're both committed to a similar goal. So it's easier to casually talk about these things. I feel like sometimes I'm annoying my friends with my rough drafts or my scripts or things like that, and like now I can just send them to him and be like, okay, and we get each other, you know, like we've been brothers for quite a long time.
And those are things that you wouldn't progress if you never just started doing these things, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
you learn through action, right? Like,
yep.
You can think about stuff all day, but like you can't think your way into becoming a professional. You gotta do some stuff and fuck up.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people are just always worried about that shit.
Yeah.
About fucking up and failing.
Yeah.
So, Red, I wanted to talk to you about your book. That was another thing.
Yeah.
Dude, when I don't know if, here, yo, Colin, could you switch to my cam? So, Red made a book.
Yeah.
Another great idea from Red.
Yeah.
So, the title of the book is Honey.
Yeah.
And it just shows a Yeezy 350 boost on it.
Yep.
So, yeah, just walk me through this whole process of how this even came about.
So, in April, Kanye got back on Twitter, and people thought the tweets were funny, almost poetic in a sense. And I think one of the tweets he wrote was, "This is a book I'm writing in real time. I'll work on it when I want. It'll be blah, blah, blah." Like, you know, like, and I was like, well, what if we just made this a book, dude? And I own this book from this poet. Her name's Rupi Kaur, called Milk and Honey. And on the FAQ of her website, she mentioned that she like published it herself using Amazon. Amazon has this thing called createspace.com.
Okay.
Where you can self-publish music, movies, books, TV shows, whatever you want. And so I looked at the website and I was like, oh, that's cool. Well, actually, no, sorry. I had that idea first to like just parody the cover.
Okay.
So I parodied the cover because the cover has like a butterfly line drawing. And I was like, well, I'm just going to draw this Yeezy shoe. And so I drew the Yeezy shoe and I put it on here, and then I changed the title to Honey, and I was like, this is funny. And then I drew like a couple pages based on some of the tweets that that resonated the most with me. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to draw these like really fast, shitty drawings. And I just used my trackpad on my MacBook. I don't have a tablet or anything or a scanner. So I'm just like holding down on the trackpad and then like using my middle finger to like draw and sketch stuff like this. This is exactly what I was doing. And I was like, wow, these are crappy illustrations. This is funny. And it was funny to me. So I was like, maybe it'll be funny to other people. So I sent it around to a couple other people. I put it on Twitter and people were like, yo, this is funny. So I went and got my friend who's really into art. She like educated me during Art Basel on like why art is important. And I'd never really understood art at that level, and like that I'm not that intellectual when it comes to art, I think. And she basically made me appreciate it more. So I asked her, I was like, well, do you think I should make this a book? Like, is this a good idea? And she was like, yes, you should do it. So I was like, okay. Then I started Googling, and that's how I found out Ruby had used this website. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I could use the website too. And then I spent like 3 hours drawing more things, picking out other tweets. He only had 100 tweets at the time, so there weren't that many to pick from because some of them were like photos and other things. So I just drew a bunch, and I was like, okay, I'm done now. Turned it into a PDF, submitted it, and the next morning I had to fly to San Francisco for a work thing. And right before I board my flight, I get an email from Amazon saying like, your book is available now. And I was like, what? That fast? And then I put it on the internet, and then I land, and then some of my friends, they send me their order confirmations. And then on that Wednesday, some people had received their books already.
So they just did the whole... You just went through this website and they did everything.
They did everything. I mean, it's like a 60-40 split. So like, but like, yeah, they take care of everything. It's like made to order. It's great.
And so do you know how many copies you've sold of this book?
I could probably check, but I don't know. I think at some point it was like a couple thousand.
A couple thousand, and then...
Yeah.
And wait, and how much is this book on
$10.
Amazon? $10. So out of just an idea. Here, Colin, am I on my camera? So
yeah.
Just so people could see, these are what the drawings look like.
Yeah. Well, let's read this one because it needs context. Cars have 4 wheels. Hoodies have hoods. It's amusing to me when someone says, "This is an original hoodie." Bro, it's a hoodie. And then one of the first ones I drew was this one.
Here,
it says...
Wait, cut to Red's cam, if anything.
Oh, is this... Well, now I can't read it.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, so it says, you have to protect your ability to create at all costs. So this is your ability to create. This is you protecting it. And this is all costs, which... I'm not sure if this makes sense now that I look at it, but...
Is that a meteor?
Yeah, it's a meteor.
And you're trying to protect your ideas from a meteor.
Yeah.
At all costs. You're putting your life on the line.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
so
great.
This was one of the original pages that I tweeted, and someone, I don't know where they're from, I forget where, but they were like, I will get this tattooed. I was like, sick. I don't know if they've gotten it tattooed, but I hope so. And I'm especially proud of this one too. As a creative, your ideas are your strongest form of currency. And it's ideas with 2 buff arms.
Buff arms.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fun ones in here. I haven't actually looked through this a lot recently. Oh, but this one, everything you do in life stems from either fear or love. And when I got home last night, so I'm going to show something that's on my phone. When I got home last night, the person who hired me at Everlane, he had sent me a gift, and it said, it was like 2 books, and the letter said, "Dear Red, I have no original," because I sent him the book, and he's like, "Dear Red, I have no original work to return the favor, so these 2 will have to do for now. 1's for the coffee table, and 2's for the brain." So it was a book of John Lennon's collected artworks, and then another book called The Portable February by David Berman. I'm assuming he's a very real artist, but I don't know how we could pull this up.
Oh, wait.
But
Was it on your Instagram or was it?
yeah, it was on my Instagram story.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see it sort of. But in the book, like he drew this thing called the interesting tree, which just has the branches all say interesting or whatever. And I had done a tree that had fear or love written into the branches, which I was like, wow, what an interesting comparison to have these two next to each other. So that was like, I was like, oh wow, I can make art, I guess. And then
Of course you can.
I met this woman earlier today who did an installation at the store on Crosby Street, and she's telling me about her work, and then we started talking, and then someone else brought up my book, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. It's not real art though. And she's like, actually it kind of is. And I think she's like, the style is very, she's like, in the art world we call it like ignorant. And I was like, well, okay, right. and but I was like, oh god, I'm just like, this is going downhill. But the way she explained it, she was like, no, it's like, you can't like draw, it's when people don't draw like traditionally, like, like very illustrative and accurate. And she's like, Basquiat was this type of artist. And I was like, really? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, like, and she pulled up his work. She's like, see, like, this isn't like what a person looks like, but it's very expressive. And when you see it, you feel something still. And like, that's what the style is about. I was like, oh, cool.
So Red, you're an artist, man.
I don't know about that, but maybe,
No, I mean, when I first read it, I was just like, yo, dude, this is so simple, but yet it's great, man. Like it's just,
yeah. I mean, I was in a
not?
flow state when I was doing that. I was just like drawing whatever like came to my head. I didn't really think about it too much.
This is one of my favorites.
Which one?
It's a blank page, and it just says, pull up in this bitch like.
Yeah, I mean, that one didn't really need a...
Exactly. Yeah, man. It's so. Do you mind if I ask how much money you've generated from these books?
I honestly don't even know the dollar amount. I know it paid my rent for at least 2.5 months, and I think I'm making another 100 or so each month now that the buzz has died down. But like...
And how much was your rent for the first 2 months?
So, I mean, I've made at least like $3,000 from this.
Just from an idea.
Yeah.
And that you just like off the whim was just like, oh, I should do this.
Yeah.
Man, Red, like I think people need to hear stuff like this, because you'd be surprised at what you can do, especially at this day and age. I don't think people are leveraging what they have at their hands.
People have more resources in front of them than they realize.
Yeah. I totally agree with you.
I mean, we have like these phones that can do amazing things. And like also people that like your friends, they're down to help you. Like, I mean, we wouldn't be having this amazing audio recording experience here without Colin's help, right?
Absolutely.
And then I don't think my book would have reached the level of success it did without my friend who connected me with someone at High Snobiety who decided like, yeah, this is funny enough to post about. So that helped. And then like, friends that tweeted about it or bought it, and like that, there was this network effect. So,
and it's all in like the palm of your hand.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, you just have to do the thing so that people can help you. I think where people get really tripped up or make a mistake is they have the idea, but then they wait for people to be down to help them before they do the thing. It's like, you could probably do 98% of the work and then, then ask other people to help. If you're asking for help before you've even started, it's like, that, I don't know, that feels...
Not a good look.
Yeah. It's like, wait, you haven't invested any of your time or energy into this yet, and now you want me to? I don't know. I can't help you. I'm not going to do this for you, man.
Oh, speaking of friends, willing to help out. Red, you were saying that you wanted to have that overhead shooting rig that me and Patrick built.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can fit it in my house. I don't.
Dude, I'm more than happy to help you build that.
Sick.
Do what you can't do in 368 and use the tools and do
Sick.
it properly and like
Sick.
scale it down to however you want.
Yeah.
Take the measurements. Let me
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
And I'm more than happy to help you out with
Sick,
that.
dude. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, Colin, is there people live watching on
Yeah.
Twitch right now?
Somebody added the book to their cart right now.
What's
no
up?
way.
Yeah.
What?
Super inspiring. I love this story added to the cart. That's
Oh my god.
See, but that's what I'm saying, man. Oh,
You were just talking about the network effect thing.
Yep. So I guess for anybody watching right now live, I have 5 of these books. Dude, like I said, as soon as I found out you had a book, I was like, "What?" Immediately just ordered 5, man.
Oh,
I'm,
man.
I'm just a
Thanks, Todd.
I'm just a big believer in like support.
Thanks for helping pay my rent.
Yeah, dude, supporting people supporting your friends, man. Like
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to give out 5 of these to whoever. I don't know, like how should we do this? Go on
Did you guys post about this on Instagram? Either of you?
I didn't make like a post. I did like a story.
I did a story too.
Maybe you should do a post after this, and then
Yeah, I'll
if you like and comment on the post.
yeah. So
no, I don't
no?
like that. I don't like
No.
making people like and comment.
So
things.
let me hear your idea, Red. Like what's a good way to just give out 5 of your books for free? How would you do it? There's people live right now on Twitch. I think they should get like a
Okay, I have a couple of weird ideas. I'm gonna throw them out there, and we can all the 3 of us will decide
live
which idea we go with.
brainstorming with Red.
Okay,
live.
so here's a couple ideas. One, we ask people to call their moms, and they tell us how that conversation went. Like, just check in. Like, people need to call their moms more. You
No,
know?
seriously, that's for real.
Another idea is like pay it forward some way. Like, do something nice for someone, and then tell us what you did. You don't have to like record it or anything. We'll use the honor system here, but go do something nice for somebody, and then tell us what the nice thing is. Or the third one is write like a letter to someone that has helped you in some way, and then like thank them, because letters aren't sent that often, and I'm sure we're all figuring things out, and people have helped us along the way, and it's important to like say thank you, especially in written form, because like that's when you're writing something, that's the only thing you can focus on. If you're typing an email, you could probably have 10 tabs open, you could be listening to music, but if you're writing a letter, I feel like that's more meaningful. So one of those 3 things.
Okay, so then they could hit me up on Instagram with like message. Just
like you
DM
dropping
me.
the letter in the mailbox, or like screenshot the phone convo where it says mom, and how many minutes you've been talking, like, so yeah, one of those 3 things.
Yeah, man. So
People on Twitch get a head start.
yeah, people on Twitch get a head start. DM me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Miguel Miola. That's Miguel. That's Miguel. Miola Meola.
Yeah.
Just DM me, and then just DM me your address, and I'll send.
The winners or something.
Yeah, man. I'll figure out the winners, and then we'll send out the books.
Yeah, and then if anyone gets me to 10,000 Instagram followers, that'd be sick. But you get nothing for that. You just get my thanks and appreciation.
That's a lot, man. Red, I want to. I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah, you give people motivation to do good things,
That's
right?
great, dude.
I don't want to make people like and comment. I don't want to add but like, and then for getting me to 10,000 followers, there's no reward for that. But if you're a good person, you'll want to help me.
Oh yeah, I mean, shit. If Red gets to plug his 10,000 followers, I'm like, man, I'm trying to get to 500. You know what I mean? Like, if people could help me get to 500, that'd be great, man.
Here's the thing: cross-pollination doesn't work as well as it used to. It used to be there weren't that many users on Instagram, so it was easy for people to be like, "Oh, hey, go follow this account. It's interesting." Now people are following too many accounts, so growth is much more fragmented, and it's a different game now.
Red, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, man.
Absolutely.
Dude, I love your story.
Thanks, man.
I love it. And now you're here at 368.
Mhm.
Like I said, like you're part of the 368 Mafia. That's like the little name that I've been thinking about for like us in 368.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know what's really going on in 368.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stay tuned and
Cool.
Thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it was fun.
Awesome.
Cool.